Magandang kamalayan sa inyo lahat. Welcome to the program I Am Kamalayan. Ako si Tato Malay at tayo'y kakasama na naman sa isang oras ng pag-uusap ng mga bagay-bagay na may kinalaman sa mga nangyayari sa panahon ngayon. Okay, at ano ba ang panahon ngayon? Ito ay sabi nga natin ay panahon ng undas or araw ng mga patay. At well, we are celebrating a I would say a tradition na ginagawa natin every year pagdating ng November 1. Pero ang maganda nito ay pinagbawal na pumunta sa sementeryo ang mga tao sa araw na yon. So, ngayon ay ano, the only time you can visit your dead relatives now ay pag hindi na sa araw ng November 1 or mga 4 days, basta yung period na yon. So, sana ay maging ano pa rin natin ito, no, tradisyon, pero sana nga ay mawala na nga yung isang araw lang. Kasi napakahirap pag tayo ay nagpupunta sa sementeryo sabay-sabay dahil pinagpipilitan natin nandun lang magkikita sa isang araw na yun. Siguro ay gawa na natin ng panibagong I would say paraan para hindi tayo magsiksikan sa loob. At kung siguro kung birthday nung namatay or death anniversary, kung ano man, yun ang ating tignan na pwedeng gawing maging araw ng pagpunta sa sementeryo na yun. Nevertheless, ito nga ay ating ginagawa. So tayo ay magkakaroon ng mga ibang pag-uusap ngayon. No? Dahil nga ito ay sa ganitong klaseng nakikita nating nangyayari. Ang dami ngayon na I would say pumanaw, nawala sa ating piling dahil sa pandemic, no? At ano ba talaga ang nangyayari? Ito ba ay dapat natin isipin na negative or what? Sa akin, sa kamalayan, ito ay aming binibigyan ng ibang interpretasyon. Sa amin kasi, walang namamatay. Everyone is going to continue to live, pero magbabago ka lang ng anyo. Mawawala lang ikaw dito sa mundo na wala ka ng katawan, babalik ka sa buhay spiritual, but you will still continue complete with your consciousness. Dala-dala mo lahat ang memories mo, pati yung mga alaalang gusto mong makalimutan, dala-dala mo rin. Ang hindi mo lang madadala ay yung mga ari-arian mo. Katulad ng pera, katulad ng mga kotse mo, ayan, bahay, hindi mo pwedeng dalhin yan. Pero everything, the memory of everything that you have experienced, you will bring it with you. At ang talong dyan, ang talong makakausap pa rin ba ang mga yumao, ating mga mahal sa buhay? Ito ay isang katanungan na kadalasan ay tinatanong ng mga namatayan o yung mga naiwan. Ang sagot namin dyan ay, oo, anytime. As a matter of fact, wala nga nagbago except wala lang silang katawan. But since walang katawan, they cannot actually touch you. They cannot talk to you in terms of having a voice na yung ganitong usapan. Pero siguro through another way, yes, you can hear them say whatever they want to say. Siguro sa panaginip or sa inyong sa utak. I mean, ano ba tawag doon? Kung minsan meron tayong nadidinig ng mga boses, no? Ganyan, may bubulong o may nagsasalita. But anyway, so what I'm saying here is walang pagbabago, everything will still be the same kung nais nyong makausap ang mga mahal niya sa buhay. At nandyan lang sila, naghihintay na mabigyan nyo sila ng pansin At nais din naman kayo talagang ma mahalo ma ano ba, hindi naman makahalubilo, mag-communicate sa isa't isa, ano. Alright, so siguro kung nababasa niyo yung aking topic ngayon dun sa aking dito sa, ah, umaandar na ako. Ang nakalagay is, "Dead music legends give tips on how to form a band." Okay, bakit ko nailagay yan diyan? Nakapagbasa kasi ako ng isang libro na ang pamagat ay Supernatural Strategies. Ang tawag dito, ang title is Supernatural Strategies. Tama. Supernatural Strategies for Making a Rock and Roll Group. Sabi ko, ano kaya ito? Nung nabasa ko ito, nung nakita ko yung title, sabi ko, ano kaya naman nito? Supernatural Strategies for Making a Rock and Roll Group. Yung pala, yung author nitong libro at yung mga kasama niya, ang idea nila o konsepto nila na gusto mangyari ay ma-interview yung mga namatay ng mga music legends, yung mga sikat talaga, yung kilala ng buong mundo. Like sila Jim Morrison ng Doors, Jimi Hendrix, sino pa ba ito? Si Little Richard. Basta yun mga yun, no? At marami pa iba. Ngayon, ano nung ginawa nila? Siyempre, they cannot anymore see the person kasi wala na, limao na. But normally, kung kayo ay familiar dun sa, ewan ko kung napanood niyo yung Ghost, yung starring Demi Moore at saka si Patrick Swayze at saka si Whoopi Goldberg. Di ba? Nung namatay si Patrick Swayze, nagkaroon ng pagkakataon na magkausap uli si Patrick at si Demi Moore. Sila ay mag-asawa, no? At so, ayun, nagkausap sila sa pamamagitan ng isang, anong tawag dito, na isang, ano yan, medium, yan, medium. So, kung saan ay sumasapi, or hindi naman sumasapi, kumbaga, nagkakaroon ng pagkakataon na makausap niya ang yung sino man yung gustong kausapin ng kliyente niya. So, ganun ang nangyari. At pwede mangyari. At ito ang ginawa nitong author na ito. Ang author ng libro ay si Ian Esbenonius. So, ang ginawa nila ay they contacted a medium at kumuha sila ng isang bahay na kung saan ay gumawa sila ng parang setup na madinig nila lahat ng sasabihin ng medium na kung ano yung mga kasagutan sa mga katanungan nila as to how this superstars na namatay na, yung mga music legends will answer according to what they want to say, no? So dito ay na-record nila. Hindi nila na-record in terms of a tape recorder kasi normally pag spirit na, hindi mo na nakukuha sa tape yung boses eh. But through the medium, pag nagsasalita yung medium, yung babae, ay tinitake down nila yung notes. Nagtitake down notes sila. So, nakuha nila word for word lahat ng sinabi ng mga in-interview nila o yung inimbita nila. Okay. To give you an idea as to what happened dito sa I will read some excerpts from this book, Supernatural Strategies for Making a Rock and Roll Group. Yan. So, tignan natin ang nakalagay dyan. So, dito nga, sabi nga nila, kadalasan kasi pag gusto nilang makakuha ng mga tips from living musicians, yung mga buhay pa, yung mga sikat, and normally, ayaw nilang ibahagi yung mga sekreto nila eh. Dahil, yun na nga, may kompetensya, So parang ayaw nilang malaman kung paano nila ginagawa yung mga bagay-bagay, kung bakit sila ay sikat, no, at that moment. Pero sabi nga nila, baka naman pag in-interview mo yung mga una, yung mga namatay na, hindi na nila ipagkakait yung mga alam nila. And that's what they did. Sabi nga nasaan ba yun? No living member of the industry would agree to share the secrets to making a group. Yeah. In fact, the only qualified people we could find to reveal the true secrets of making a rock and roll group were deceased rock and roll stars who our team contacted in a top secret seance. Ayan. So, ginawa na nila ng plano na kukontak nila yung mga superstars na rock and roll stars. The voices of ghosts are unrecordable, so we hurriedly transcribed their words directly onto the pages of this book. Alright, so ang ginawa nila ay gumawa sila ng isang round table at ilan silang magkakasama. Pinaligiran nila hindi, kasama nila sa isang circle, yung medium. At naghawak-hawak sila ng kamay. Minsan nagme-meditate para lang mag-concentrate sila para maimbita or magkaroon ng connection with the spirit of the dead. All right. So, ang tanong dyan is, totoo bang nangyayari ito? I will not exactly give the whole, I will not read the whole text o yung nasulat dito sa libro, no, on how to really form a rock band. Pero excerpts, I will do that, no. Kasi ang concern natin dito is nangyayari ba talaga itong ganitong mga bagay, which is pwede kung naniniwala kayo. Masama ba ito? Depende kung ano yung paniniwala nyo, depende sa religion nyo. Pero kung kayo ay open naman to, these things, mukhang okay lang, di ba? Bakit? Wala namang talagang, I would say, masama kayong balak. Mukha naman maganda naman yung intention nyo. Ang mahirap yung merong kayong hidden agenda na negative or whatever. Na, kasi nga, remember, nananahimik na yung gusto nyo kausapin. Kumbaga, masaya na siya wherever that person is. So, ang nangyayari nga ay ginagambala. Tama. Ginugulo natin uli sila. Pero okay naman sila. As I've said, kung maganda yung purpose. No? So, katulad dito, they were willing to share. At marami silang senior. No? So, if you are able to really buy this book, I got mine sa Amazon. No? Kasi walang available sa mga bookstores dito sa Philippines. Etong librong ito, noong pa naghahanap ako. Nobody sold it, no? Not even in fully booked. I mean, sa National, wala rin. So, sa Amazon ko lang binili. So, eto lang ngayon. So, sino-sino yung mga kinontak nila? Ngayon, they were concerned with a few questions, which they asked practically everyone that they interviewed. Ang isang question is, what is rock and roll? And then, ang pangalawa is, where did it come from? Saan ba galing ang rock and roll? At saka, bakit rock and roll yan? Ano ba yan? Ano bang tunog yan? At bakit rock and roll? Where did it come from? Tapos, susunod nila, what is the point of making a band? And then, how does one do it effectively? So, maganda talaga itong librong to. Nung nabasa ko nga ito, wow. Grabe. Sabi ko, I wouldn't have, found anything much better than this one. Na kung saan ay talagang very extensive yung pag-share nila about the history of rock and roll. All right, so sabi nga dito, the first ghost, they called the first person, the dead person, they called it ghost, multo. The first ghost we spoke with claimed to be that of Rolling Stones founder, Brian Jones. Di ba si Brian Jones? Yeah, founder ng Rolling Stones. Eh. Maaga lang siya namatay, no? At very controversial siya. Anyway, so sabi ng author, we asked him about the secret to a group's longevity and legacy. All the questions were asked through our spirit medium, who explained that any contact she has with the spirit world is slightly imperfect, and therefore we must allow for a 3% error or margin of error. All right. So while he wasn't actually visible, we could see what appeared to be a white hat and a flowing hand painted scarf, rather like something Isadora Duncan might have worn, vaguely reflected in a mirror above the fireplace. So parang nagparamdam. So through that kind of an image, yan nakita nila, no? Merong um, sombrero na puti and a flowing hand-painted scarf. Okay, so eto ngayon. So tanong nila, so Brian, what can you tell us about forming a group? Yun. And then sabi ni Brian Jones, what do you want to know? I don't want help. I don't know what help I can be. I haven't been in the game for so long. Yun na, hindi naman siya kasi tumagal eh. So how would he know? Sabi nung author, well, this may be a sensitive subject, but the Rolling Stones are still going. Are you aware of this? And then Brian said, yes, of course. Though I'm not fond of everything they've done. Medyo may mga nakabangga rin siya dun sa banda na yun. Namin sa Rolling Stones, no? Sila Mick Jagger. Okay, anyway. So though I'm not fond of everything they've done, I'm quite proud of them. And then sabi ni author, proud? Yes, sabi ni Brian. I feel I taught them well, not only about music, but in regard to their artistic approach. And of course, their style, how to stand on stage and such. What can you tell about longevity, about making a group last? Sabi ni Brian, well, if history is an indicator, the time that a group will not be around is much longer than the time that a group will be around. Jagger and Richard's insistence, for example, that time is on their side suggests that the 50 years the Stones have been going will be more time than civilization will continue to exist after their dissolution. And while this seems likely highly, it doesn't seem that time will stop. Time might go on into the future much longer than it's been going thus far. So, ang ganda ng mga sagot, no? Talagang very informative. And sabi ko, this is someone who is already a spirit talking and giving pointers, giving tips to those who would want to learn as to how to become successful by informing a rock band or rock and roll band. So maraming questions, no? So ang mga magaganda rito I will not anymore read everything kasi mahaba ito. But as I've said, if you're interested, you can buy it in Amazon. Ngayon, ang mga in-interview rito ay sila like one of them is sino to? Ayan. Richard Berry. Richard Berry is was the one who actually composed the song Louie Louie. Louie Louie. Di ba? Yung kasikatan noon, no? Na may mga 60s yan eh. So rock and roll talaga ito. And eto, tinanong sila, what exactly is rock and roll? Di ba? Yun ang one question nila na gusto masagot eh. Kasi they wanted to know the history of rock and roll eh. And sagot ni Richard Berry, Rock and roll is originally a product of American culture, and therefore its history is marked with the same particularities and circumstances as its parent nation. Since the USA is a nation founded on the ideas of individualism, rebellion, and evangelism, white supremacy, black slavery, expulsion of native peoples, expansionism, commerce, and industry. These values all play a part in the formation of the USA's primary and arguably greatest cultural export. So practically, merong kinalaman sa kultura talaga itong rock and roll. Well, beyond that, kasi nabasa ko na ito. So, isa-summarize ko na lang. Ang sabi nga nila, dati, before the rock and roll music or genre became popular, ang mga kabataan, lalo na yung mga kalalakihan, mga teenagers, they used to have what we call gangs, mga barkada. Pero sila, kanya-kanyang style, kanya-kanyang way of uh, um, yung pag-style ng damit nila, kanya-kanyang kultura rin sila, no? Merong mga, kasi alam mo sa Amerika, hindi naman lahat yan puti. Meron mga Latino. If you're familiar with West Side Story, you will be aware. I mean, you will see there the different gangs na magkakaaway, magkakalaban. Dito rin sa Pilipinas, nung umpisa, nung 60s, nung kasikatan, bago sumikat ang Beatles, may mga, hindi, actually, may mga sumisikat noon na mga gang, mga gangs, na kung saan ay, ito ay mga galing sa mga exclusive schools ng mga kalalakihan. I remember noon, mayroong gang na ang tawag ay Havocs. Yung Havocs ay mga karamihan mga taga-Letran. At miyembro yata, I don't know kung naging miyembro siya ng itong gang na ito, was sila Tito Soto. Kasi sila Tito Soto during that time, they were very much active sa ganyan. No? There were students in Letran. And at the same time, nung sumikat, nagkaroon na nga ng rock and roll, they had a band also, Tilt Down Men. No? So kumbaga kung ano yung nangyayari sa Amerika, nangyayari din dito. No? So ganoon ang kanila. So yan ang mga istorya dito, no? Mga na salin o na share dito sa librong ito. Ang ganda, maraming very, I would say, historical info, no, as to how everything evolved. Ang maganda nito ay, they were having the seance already with these dead people. Biglang merong isang spirito sumali pero buhay pa yun. Nakisali. Meron ito, banggitin ko kung sino. Nasaan na siya? Nakisali na nag-invade siya. Hindi naman siya inimbita kasi buhay pa nga siya. So, biglang nagpakilala. Sino yun? Si Paul McCartney. Sabi niya. Sabi nung mga nagsisiyans, nung yung author, ano ito, bakit, sabi nila, ito yan, McCartney, sandali. As Mary Wells was neatly explaining the origins of the group model, there was another na nagsasalita, another interview. Dun sa science na yun. As Mary Wells was neatly explaining the origins of the group model, sabi niya, a ghost claiming to be Sir Paul McCartney interrupted and began to fill us in on the next stage of his historical development. So the rumors were true. We joked, sabi yung authors. But he assured us it wasn't so. Hindi daw totoo. Kasi sabi nga, yung sinabi nila, so the rumors were true. Na totoo palang namatay na si Paul McCartney. Di ba mayroong balita na namatay na si Paul McCartney? Pero sabi niya, no, it's not true. He explained that though he is not dead, he does spend a lot of time in the spirit world while meditating or tending to his garden in Scotland. So mahilig na siyang magmuni-muni, ah, mag-meditate. So parang yun na nga, his consciousness is advanced. So yun, nakakapag-communicate siya through ganitong communication. McCartney corroborated much of what Wells had proposed through her pasta calligraphy. Now, eto ngayon alam niyo itong mga nagpaparamdam ng mga spirit as to how they actually make their presence felt during those seance. I mean, that particular seance. Si Paul McCartney chose to communicate through light bulbs kasi may mga ilaw dun sa kwarto, I mean, dun sa sala. Nagdidim, tapos liliwanag, kumukurap-kurap, ganyan. In a kind of spirit world, Morse code daw, parang gano'n, no? Parang just send ng Morse code. Luckily, our medium guide namely deciphered it. Nabasa ng medium kung ano yung sinasabi. So, tanong nila, how were the Beatles and British people generally able to so deftly colonize and dominate rock and roll, though it came from America? Yeah, eto nga Ito magandang background dito. Well, answer to. Kaya lang, hindi ko na babasahin lahat. Share ko na lang. Summarize ko lang. Yun na nga. Sila Paul McCartney, British yan Beatles, they're not from the US, so they're not Americans. Pero yung rock and roll, American origin yan. But during that time, nung nagko-cover band pa ang Beatles, hindi pa sila kilala, pumepwesto sila at they would sing a lot of American songs. Idol nga nila sila Elvis Presley, sila Little Richard, lahat yan. Ina-idolize sila ang mga kanta ng Amerika, sa Amerika. Kung saan ay hanga sila sa popularity. Kasi during that time, yung mga sikat na mga singers sa Amerika were really superstars worldwide. Kung wala si Elvis Presley, wala tayong Beatles because si John Lennon was strongly influenced by Elvis Presley. So, inamin naman niya yun. So, eto ngayon, ang tanong is, paano nagkaroon ng British invasion? When in fact, ang rock and roll talaga was a US product. I mean, ang history niyan galing sa Amerika. Na paano nakapasok ang British? Samantalang hindi sila ang original na ganong klaseng tunog. Kumbaga, parang Philippines tayo ngayon. Ayun nga, nangyari ganito. Na-invade sila ng BTS, na-invade tayo ng BTS, ngayon, K-pop na lahat. Di ba sumikat ka K-pop dito? Anyway. So, ganun na nangyari sa Amerika. I mean, the British were able to become popular, very popular. I mean, sunod-sunod, yung mga banda nila, lahat, halos sumikat lahat. So, ang sabi ni Paul McCartney, I'll repeat the question, how were the Beatles and British people generally able to so deftly colonize and dominate rock and roll, though it came from America? Sabi ni Paul McCartney, when British people heard all the post-war American musical forms, they were largely decontextualized. The British learned about blues music at the same time and in the same way as they heard the group music. Therefore, many of them recycled it all in the same sentence. To them, it was the same exotic culture. The early Beatles lightly covered Kyle Perkins at the mga kino-cover nila. Arthur Alexander, the Shirelles, Buck Owens, Little Richard, and the Donnays, though to an American this might have represented distinct and sometimes conflicting spheres of rockabilly, R&B, country blues, soul, and gang girls or debs singing street corner serenades to their troglodyte lover. Troglodyte. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng troglodyte? Yung mga cavemen na nakatira sa kuweba. Ah, so, why were the British so successful with their interpretation of this music? And sabi ni Paul McCartney, well, the American middle class, obsessed with the brain gap against the Soviets, as examined in the hot book of the era, what Ivan knows that Johnny doesn't, has shunned these songs as primitive gurgles akin to smutty magazines, gum chewing, record hops, African tribal rhythms, and drive-in exploitation movies. Alam nyo, ang mga middle-class Americans during that time, they looked down on blues music. Huh? And blues music is the ancestor of rock and roll. No? So yung blues music, basically, hindi tinatanggap ng American middle class yun. Why? Because sa kanila, it was trash, vulgar, obscene, bastos, cheap, gano'n. Tingin nila, cheap. Tapos, yun na nga, may racist pa sila na kasi most of those who were singing blues were black people. So, eto ngayon, nung dumating ang mga British sa US, ang nangyari, they were singing the same concepts, the same genre, pero original compositions ng mga bands, pero tunog rock and roll. Tinanggap ng mga Amerikano, yung middle class. Dahil for them, well, siyempre, sino pa naman yung mga puting Amerikano na originally na nauna sa Amerika, they also came from Europe. So, umaga parang kababayan nila. I mean, so kapareho nila. So, they they embraced the music of the British. And so, sabi nga, but when British groups, particularly the Beatles, reintroduced this filth, dumi, the trash, to Americans as something which was exciting, fun, and fascinating, it created mass hysteria and confusion or mania, which expressed itself in convulsive weeping and screaming at concerts in public. Di ba? Nagkagulo na. Nagkaroon na ng mass hysteria. Grabe na nagkaroon na ng British invasion, sabi nga. So they conquered America through their music. Ang ganoon din ang ginawa ng K-pop. Kinonquer ang world. Ngayon na K-pop. And noon British ang nag-invade. No? But anyway, so that's how eventually the British was able to conquer America. So yeah, marami pa rito na interview aside from Paul McCartney. So sino pa rito? Si Jimi Hendrix. Yan. Jimi Hendrix, si Buddy Holly muna tayo. Okay. So basta kilala niyo si Buddy Holly pero maganda rito kay Jimi Hendrix eh. Ayan. Tinanong siya, why rock and roll? Sabi ni Jimi Hendrix. Some people look at paintings. Some read poetry. Others show others their etchings. These are all fine pastimes, but absolutely un-American. I would go so far as to say that the appreciation of fine art, as to say that the appreciation of fine art by Americans is for the most part an affectation by those who are ashamed of their colonial provincialism. Modern art or the art of abstraction and conceptualism is a Central Eastern European invention and pertains specifically to the quasi-Oriental mathematic sensibility. Oil painting has its Flemish masters, classical music is Teutonic, and opera is an Italian import. Kanina meron akong isang friend, kinig sa akin kanina, and sabi nga niya meron isang movie sa Netflix na halos ganito yung sinasabi rin, o ganito yung istorya, na kung saan ay yung mga influences of this kinds of music came from other countries, no? And anyway, uh, so oil painting has its Flemish masters, classical music is Teutonic, and opera is an Italian import. Kaya karamihan ng mga opera, di ba? Opera, hindi mabili. Style ko, no? Na talagang Italian yan. As a matter of fact, marami tayong mga Italian songs na sumikat dito eh. Mga pop songs, mga rock and roll songs din. I used to sing a lot of Italian songs before. Nung 50s, 60s, dami ko natutunan na Italian songs. Dahil sumikat sila. I mean, pyro pop na siya. Yung mga Non dimenticar. Tsaka yung Ti voglio culare, culare. Ano pa ba yung mga Italian songs na dami, volare. O kaya, mga ganyan. So, ang dami, maraming napasikat ang Italy when it comes to music. As a matter of fact, siguro, many of those in America who actually recorded those songs were originally from Italy. Kaya, nadala nila yung kultura nila doon, kung saan ay napasikat pa rin nila kahit nasa Amerika na sila. Kasi sa Amerika na na-release yung mga kantang yun eh. Pero basically Italian ang mga composer tsaka mga singers. So to continue, sabi ni Jimi Hendrix, rock and roll, ito na, rock and roll on the other hand is an American art brought about by the Industrial Revolution, the harnessing of electricity, and the miscegenation of various poor, exploited, and indentured cultures in the USA. Yung mga api, mga naghirap. Rock and roll expresses a simultaneous celebration and condemnation of trash culture, class struggle, and imperial privilege. And then, ang tanong but why start a band? And then, sabi ni Jimi Hendrix, people are right to question why another rock and roll group. Rock and roll at this point cannot seem like a despicable pursuit, or at least a singularly embarrassing pastime. There's the leering, the grimacing, the artlessness, the pointlessness, the dullness, the loudness, the oversaturation of groups, the contractual skullduggery, the apparent self-satisfaction of the groups, the simultaneous self-loathing, the reactionary politics, the objectification of the performer by the spectator, by the the objectification of the spectator by the performer, the cloying, the copying, and the narcissism of all which encourage the thinking participant to run in the other direction from any flirtation with the pastime of groupism. Indeed, the modern variety of rock group is often a predictable, soulless, silly, and quite boring entity comprised of boarding school bankers' sons parading about on stage and playing a passable pastiche of some wrong-headed critics' desert island discs. The groups they cite as influences become more banal every year. All right, so I will not read any more the rest. Basta nakuha ninyo yung ibig sabihin. Uh, we're discussing this because it's the it's a time now to honor the dead. And somehow, I remembered this book because sabi ko nga, ano ang ibig sabihin nito? I mean, what is being said here is we can communicate with the dead. The dead can still help us, understand all what's happening with our world now. Ito, katulad nito, ang gaganda ng mga pinagsasabi nila, no? I don't think naman it's the author who invented what they were saying, no? But anyway, what I'm trying to drive at is, ano ang pwede nating gawin if that is the case? If, for example, ngayon, I am not a good composer. I am a composer, but I'm not very good. But what if I ask John Lennon to compose a song at this point in time? Yun nga, can you help me compose a song? And then, for example, I I I was able to communicate with him, and he says, "Yes, I have a song." And then somehow I would get the melody and the lyrics all together. Kumbaga parang, di ba, yung ginagawa ng mga composers, kumisan, hindi na sila nag-iisip, biglang merong lumalabas na tono at saka lyrics sa kanilang mind, no, sa consciousness. And then somehow, when they start playing, automatic, lumalabas na yung kanta. And what if, for example, I do that? I communicate with the dead, especially like John Lennon. Ay, magaling na kompositor si John Lennon. Ngayon, pag kunyari nakagawa ng isang kanta, and then I actually put it down, record it, and then maybe sing it. Ang tanong, sino ang composer? Ako o si John Lennon? Papayag ba? Hindi, ganito yan eh. If for example, I say it was John Lennon who composed it, baka habulin ako ng licensing company ng mga kanta ni John Lennon, di ba? At this point in time, meron pang record label na may hawak sa mga copyright of the songs of John Lennon. Baka mamaya i-claim nila. Hindi, ganun lang. No? I mean, these are just questions. Kasi nga, it opened my mind into several things. Na kung saan ay, pwede naman pala natin makausap sila, pwedeng siguro maka-jamming pa kung sakali. At kung saan ay baka pwede magbigay ng kanta, no? So, yun ang isang bagay na aking nais mangyari. Alright, so much for this. I mean, I had just siguro proven my point in terms of saying that, yes, the dead are alive. And what about us who are alive, but most of the time dead? Yan ang gusto ko pag-usapan din. Buhay pa tayo rito eh. Parang marami sa atin. Parang patay na eh. I mean, ano ibig sabihin? Walang kabuhay-buhay. Bakit? Walang nangyayari sa buhay nila. Di ba? Marami sa atin ganyan eh. Kaya akala nila, sabi, ano ba naman ang buhay ko? Wala nang nangyayari. Walang kabuluhan. So, ang tanong is, anong gagawin mo pa? Para ka nang, sasabihin mo, wala ka nang parang purpose or gustong gawin. So, parang ka nang zombie, patay. Wala ka nang silbi. Ganun ba? Yan ba ang gusto mo mangyari? And sabi ko nga, palagi ko sinasabi dito sa Kamalayan, nobody dies unless you want to die or unless it's the soul's choice or decision. Hindi totoo yung sinasabing pag kinuha ka na ni Lord, ay yun na, tapos ang buhay mo. Alam mo, yun ang pinakamaling paniniwala natin eh. Hindi tayo kinukuha ni Lord. Bakit? Sabi ni Lord, I gave you free will. You can live as to how long you want to live. Ano ang ibig sabihin yan? Kung kailan mo lang gustong umexit, yun na yung doon ka lang i-exit. Di ba? Yun ang dapat natin iniisip eh. Kaya wag mo sisihin si Lord o si God pag may namatay na kamag-anak mo. God, bakit Bakit kinuha mo yung mahal ko sa buhay? Ano ka ba? Magagalit ka pa ngayon sa Diyos. When in fact, wala namang ginawa ang Diyos. Nag-decide mismo yung taong yun. Umexit na. Yun ang hindi natin napag-aralan o hindi na ituro sa atin ng tama. So si God, hindi tayo kinukuha. So huwag yung isipin na kukunin tayo ni Lord or si kamatayan. Wala rin si kamatayan. It is our decision. But most specifically, not ourselves, but our soul. Our soul is the one that knows it has a body and it is also a spirit at the same time. Tayo rin yun. We are also that soul. Pero it is our soul that will decide when to go. Ano ang ibig sabihin yan? Nagpunta ka rito sa mundong ito. Ano ang ginawa mo? Ginawa mo ba yung dapat mong gawin? Kasi, remember, the soul will only live, will decide to live pag nagawa mo na yung dapat gawin. Pag ginawa na nung sino man yung nagpunta na rito. Kasi maraming gusto umexit eh. Yung iba ka nagsisuicide. Pero yung iba, yung parang wala lang nangyayari sa buhay nila. So pag wala na, ang mangyayari dyan is you will now be able to say, sige, my time is up. I can go. Buti pang wala na ako sa mundong ito kasi wala nang kabuluhan. And so if you say that, most probably, you will go. Pero kuminsan naman, meron iba rin nag-attempt magpakamatay, mag-suicide, pero hindi naman namamatay. So meron din gano'n, no? O yung iba naman, naka-experience na ng near-death experience nila, tawag nila. Kumbaga, namatay na sila, clinically dead. Pumunta na kung saan, sa langit yun, nakita na yung mga kamag-anak niya, sinalubong na siya, pero pinabalik pa rin siya, o bumalik pa rin siya. Bakit? Kasi parang may kulang. Hindi pa tapos ang kanyang dapat gawin. Hindi ito mission. Wala kang mission dito. You're not here to do something na I would say parang mission mo ay to save the world. Hindi ganoon. Ang pinupunta ng mga tao rito ay for our soul's evolution. Because ano ba ang nangyayari when you are in the spirit world? You don't evolve. Yun ang katotohanan. You're just the same all throughout. Kasi nga, you're already there. Perfect. Wala lang dapat pang gawin. So, okay naman. Masaya naman doon. Kaya lang, ang nangyayari kasi talaga is everything changes. Everything shifts or everything evolves. So, ang tanong is, how will you now evolve? Kung nandun ka sa spirit plane, wala kang katawan. So, wala kang magagawa. So, you come back again. You reincarnate in this world, in a particular time that you choose. At eto na nga sinasabi ko sa inyo, sa totoo lang, meron kayong plano kung anong gagawin nyo pag kayo ay ipinanganak sa mundong ito. So ano ang sabihin? Paano ko hindi ko natatandaan, hindi ko alam kasi wala naman akong idea as to what it is. Yes, we were made to forget everything in the past, our past lives, so that we can start anew, everything, from zero. Pero, as I've said, lahat yan, pinlano mo na ang pagpunta mo rito. You decided as to what kind of experiences you would want to experience. You decided as to who your mother or father would be. You chose your parents. That's a given. That's an accepted reality. Marami lang hindi alam yan dahil hindi tinuturo ng tama yan sa simbahan. No? Pero we chose our parents. So, eto ngayon, when we chose them, we have already a reason why we chose them. Because we want to start doing something in a given area, in a place where we can start doing what we want to do. So, doon pa lang, alam mo na dapat kung ano yung gagawin mo. So, ang tanong niya, bakit ko pinili itong tatay ko? Bakit ko pinili itong nanay ko? Ano ang meron dito? So, doon pa lang meron ka na dapat idea as to what you should do with your life. Eh kung talagang manhid ka pa rin at hindi mo pa rin alam, okay, ganito na lang ang tip ko sa inyo. Balikan nyo lahat ang mga ambisyon nyo, mga dreams nyo, yung mga desires nyo nung bata pa kayo. Many of our desires, our dreams when we were young, hindi natuloy. Dahil sinabihan tayo na, ay, walang pera dyan, wag mo lang i-pursue yan. Ito na lang ang gawin mo. Ito ang pag-aralan mo. Ito ang pagsikapan mo para yumaman ka at magkaroon ka ng maraming pera para makuha mo lahat yung gusto mong makuha at para maging masaya ka. So, yun yung tinuro sa atin. Ganun ang proseso. Hindi pala ganun. Baligtad. Ano ibig sabihin? Do what you want to do. Do what you love doing. Whatever that is. Kahit na walang pera dyan. Kung ano yung nagpapa-excite sa'yo, nagpapasaya sa'yo, that makes you enthusiastic, that's what you have to do. Hindi natin ginawa Dahil sinunod natin yung sinabi ng ating mga magulang na ito dapat kasi malaking sweldo mo pag itong naging trabaho mo. So, ganun ang ginawa natin. We forgot our own desires, our own dreams, and we lived a life na hindi totoo sa atin. Kasi ang kailangan talaga dapat natin ginawa ay to live our life that we love, that we want. Hindi yung living a life of what other people want us to do or to have or to live. Ginawa natin ganun Meron tayong kabuhayan, meron tayong career, meron tayong relationships, pero pinili mo ba talaga yan? Ginusto mo ba talaga yan? O baka naman yan lang kasi sinabi ng ibang tao na napuwersa sa'yo at tinanggap mo lang. Kadalasan ganun tayo Kaya ang marami sa atin, tumatanda, na gawa nila lahat yung dapat gawin dahil sinunod nila lahat yung sinabi sa kanila. At the end, sabi nila, parang walang nangyari sa buhay ko. Parang walang kabuluhan, walang meaning. Kasi nga, hindi mo ginawa yung gusto mo. Yun lang yun Bottom line is, alam mo ba kung ano yung gusto mo? Ngayon, siyempre, hindi mo malalaman yan kung hindi mo pa kilala ang sarili mo. Nakilala mo ba ang sarili mo? Oo, kilala ko. Ako ay isang doktor, isang abogado. Pangalan ko ay ganito, ganyan. Kung yun ang pagkakilala mo, napakababaw nun. At mali ang pagkakilala mo sa sarili mo kasi yung mga title na yan, walang kabuluhan yan. Ang tanong is, alam mo ba kung sino ka talaga? Ano ba talaga ang gusto mo sa mga bagay-bagay na nakikita mo sa kapaligiran mo? Ano yung katangian mo? Ano yung mga talino mo, mga talent na hindi mo dinevelop? Yung mga artistic talents mo na pinabayaan mo. Sayang, di ba? Ito nga maganda ng itong pandemic. Tumigil lahat. Tumigil ang mga trabaho ng karamihan ng mga tao, no? At dito, na-realize sila na, wow, baka naman pwede ako sa ganito kasi wala na akong pagkakakitaan. And at discovery nila, meron po pala silang ibang mga kaalaman o katangian o kagalingan na pwede nilang gawing career or maging pagkakakitaan nila. Ang dami natin nakitang ganyan na in the past year. Ito lang. Na kung saan ay yung iba ay talagang after doing a different career, Aba, opposite na ito ginagawa lang pero nag-enjoy sila dito. At dito, ngayon, nakita nila na, oh, okay pala itong ginagawa ko, masaya ako dito. And yun na nga, sabi nga natin, lahat work from home na, online. So marami tayong dapat maggawa na madali na ngayon dahil online. Hindi katulad dati na kailangan mo pang mag-apply ng trabaho sa isang kumpanya, traffic, tapos yun na nga, pagdating mo ron, ano tawag dito, pagod ka, tapos so, yun nga, sweldo mo, nagagastos mo sa mga bagay-bagay na para ka lang makalimot sa mga hindi mo nais na nakikita sa buhay mo o nangyayari dahil bored ka, walang kabuluhan. So, you would spend a lot of your money sa mga leisure activities para lang mawala yung mind mo sa mga problema mo sa opisina. So, bottom line, hindi ka masaya. Ngayon, lahat tayo nabigyan uli ng pagkakataon. Nagsara, binabalik ng iba yung dati nakaraan, pero dapat wag na natin pilitin. Tapos na yan. Sabi nga, wag mo nang buhayin ang mga namatay na. Wala na, tapos na yan. So ngayon, ang tanong is, ano ngayon na nakikita mo sa sarili mo? Ano ngayon ang gusto mong gawin? Meron ka bang nakitang parang bagong simula? Kasi huwag mo nang isipin na babalik pa yung dati mong ginagawa. Ngayon, ikaw na. Ano ang gusto mong gawin? So ito ay isang panimula o pasimula o pagsisimula ng ating buhay ulit. I am very happy that actually siguro ilan lang ako sa mga taong masaya na dumating itong pandemic, no. What I mean by masaya, dahil alam nyo, I was one of those people who was prepared in this particular period na dumating. Bakit? Noong ko pa ina-announce manda na kayo, titigil ang mundo. Hindi, I'm not saying it's going to be the end of the world. It's going to end many of the things that we are doing. At paano ko nalaman yan? Well, sabi ko nga, I am more of a futurist. And I was able to predict it from what was happening at that particular time, mga 20 years ago. Sabi ko, watch out. Everything will just collapse. Everything will just end. Wala na sinira na natin ang environment. Pinulyot na natin ang hangin at tubig. Hindi na sustainable ang nangyayari sa ating ginagawa So sabi ko, there will come a time, titigil yan lahat. Kasi wala na It's not anymore sustainable. Everything will just collapse. And it happened. Pero it was not because of what we were saying na magko-collapse ng ganun dahil nga. Although, nandyan na siya. As a matter of fact, ito na nga, climate change is a result of that thing, no? We were thinking of climate change that will make it stop. Pero nauna yung pandemic. We were not aware of the pandemic, pero we were aware that there will come a time na titigil nga. But we thought it was the climate change that will make it stop. Pero anyway, at least do sa pandemic, nagkaroon tayo ng parang dress rehearsal practice para lang mag-prepare tayo sa mas malaking problema, which is really now, eto na, pandemic, which is, that's why eto nga sila, yung mga world leaders ngayon, nag-meeting. They want to stop or they want to find a solution to all these problems that we are experiencing. Hindi nila pinag-uusapan dito ang pandemic, climate change na talaga ang concern nila, which is exactly what we are concerned with now. Why? Because tayo may kagagawan tayo sumira ng kalikasan So, yan ang dapat nating isipin ngayon. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. Tapos na tayo. Naku, akala ko may oras pa tayo. Anyway, sana ay naibigan nyo ang ating programa ngayon at so sa susunod na linggo ay patuloy tayo pag-uusapan natin itong mga magagandang nangyayari sa ating lipunan, sa ating mundo. At sana ay tangkilikin niyo palagi ang ating programang I Am Kamalayan. Ako po si Tato Malay na nagsasabing magandang gabi, magandang umaga, magandang hapon, kung saan man kayo naroon. Enjoy the rest of the day. I love you all. Thank you.